5 civilizations, 5 continents, 5 sets of pyramids built across at least 3,000 years of separation, on land masses that did not communicate, by peoples who did not know each other existed. The shape is the same, 4-sided, sloped to a point or a flat summit, stepped or smooth, aligned to cardinal directions or to specific stars, built of the largest stones the culture could move, set in courses, finished with intent. Every textbook explains them separately. Egyptian pyramids are explained by the Egyptian state. Mesoamerican pyramids are explained by Olmec and Mayan and Aztec cosmology. Chinese pyramids are explained by Han imperial burial practice. Sudanese pyramids are explained by the Kingdom of Kush. Each chapter is self-contained. Each explanation is reasonable. No textbook asks the obvious question: why this shape? Why on every continent that has supported a complex civilization? Why, when those civilizations had no contact and no shared engineering tradition, did they all arrive at the same geometric solution to whatever problem they were solving? The standard academic answer is convergence, independent invention, coincidence. Different cultures, faced with similar engineering and symbolic challenges, naturally arrived at similar forms. That answer is not wrong. It is also not complete. And the gap in the answer is where the question they will not ask sits. Begin with Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed during the reign of Khufu around 2500 BC. 2.3 million stone blocks, the largest weighing around 80 tons, aligned to true north within fractions of a degree, an alignment more precise than the orientation of most modern buildings. The official explanation is tomb construction for a single pharaoh. The official explanation does not address the alignment precision. It does not address the survey accuracy that allowed the base to be level within 2 centimeters across a footprint of more than 5 acres. Cross the Atlantic, Teotihuacán, in central Mexico. The Pyramid of the Sun, built between the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, a footprint nearly identical to the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Constructed of cut stone and rubble fill, aligned to a specific astronomical orientation that does not correspond to local convenience. The Mesoamerican builders had no contact with Egypt. They built the same form anyway. Move to China, the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, 210 BC, a flat-topped pyramid covering an underground complex famous for its terracotta army, earthen construction over a stone core, aligned to the cardinal directions. There are more than 30 additional pyramidal structures in the Xi'an region, some of them not formally excavated. The Chinese government has restricted study at several of these sites. The official explanation is that excavation will damage what is preserved inside. The unofficial result is that we do not know what those structures contain. Sudan, the Nubian pyramids of the Kingdom of Kush. More than 200 pyramids built between approximately 700 BC and 300 AD. Steeper than Egyptian pyramids. Smaller in scale. Constructed primarily as royal tombs. Built by a culture in contact with Egypt, but at a different time, using different proportions on different geology. The same fundamental form, different execution, and in the Pacific. On the Indonesian island of Java, the site called Gunung Padang sits on top of a hill that some researchers, led by geologist Danny Hillman Natawejaja, have argued is not a hill. The argument is that beneath the visible megalithic terraces sits a buried, layered structure with characteristics consistent with a constructed pyramid. The claim is contested. The contestation itself is part of the pattern. Multiple Indonesian and international archaeologists have disputed the early dating estimates. The site remains under partial study. 5 continents, 5 cultures, the same 4-sided ascending form, deployed by people who could not have copied each other. Modern archaeology will tell you this is convergent evolution in architecture. A pyramid is the most stable form a culture can build at large scale without engineered arches or steel. Pile stones high enough, and the structure that does not collapse is, by physics, pyramidal. The form follows the function. Mystery solved. That argument is mathematically correct, and it is not the whole truth. because the pyramids were not just stable. They were aligned. They were oriented. They were positioned with respect to celestial bodies, to cardinal directions, to landscape features that the cultures considered significant. The stability argument explains the slope. It does not explain the survey. It does not explain why Khufu's pyramid is oriented to true north with an error of less than 3/60ths of a degree, when modern surveying with laser equipment is required to match that accuracy. It does not explain why the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacán is oriented 15.5 degrees east of north, a heading that has been correlated with the setting position of the Pleiades on specific dates 2,000 years ago. It does not explain why the Chinese Xi'an pyramids are aligned in a pattern that has been compared, by some researchers, to the configuration of Orion's belt. Each of these alignments, individually, can be explained as local astronomical knowledge applied to construction. The question that does not appear in the textbooks is why so many of them appear, in cultures that did not know each other, focused on similar celestial reference points, in structures of nearly identical form. The pattern matters because it is not just architectural, it is informational. It suggests that 5 separate civilizations, without exchanging engineers, somehow arrived at a similar understanding of what large stone structures should look like, what they should be oriented to, and how they should be built. The academic response to this pattern, in published research, has generally been to address it one site at a time. The convergence of forms across continents is not a typical subject of integrated study. Comparative pyramid research as a field barely exists. Egyptologists study Egyptian pyramids. Mesoamericanists study Mesoamerican pyramids. Sinologists study Chinese ones. The siloing is professional, not malicious. But the effect of the siloing is that the comparison nobody publishes is the comparison nobody discusses. The pattern that connects them is, by the structure of the discipline, invisible to it. That structural invisibility is its own form of erasure. A temple was buried in Turkey at the dawn of agriculture by the people who built it. A network of underground cities was sealed across Cappadocia. Steel blades from 3 civilizations contained nano-engineering that vanished from the historical record. A map drawn in 1513 cited 20 sources that no longer exist. The most precisely cut megalithic blocks ever measured sit in a Bolivian field, their original arrangement broken up by colonial looters. 800-ton stones sit in a Lebanese foundation that was built on top of them by people who did not place them. And on 5 continents, pyramidal structures stand as evidence that human civilizations, repeatedly and independently, reach toward the same form. The structures are documented, the forms are cataloged. The comparison, the integrated reading, the question of why the form recurs, sits in the gaps between academic departments where no one is paid to look. Knowledge appears, knowledge disappears. Always by decision, never by accident. The pattern is not coincidence. The pattern is policy. In this case, is not active suppression. It is something quieter and harder to fight. It is the institutional structure that ensures the question is never asked in the first place. The pyramids stand on every relevant continent. The textbooks describe them one chapter at a time. The connection between the chapters is left to the reader to notice, in their own time, on their own initiative, with no expert to consult and no funded program to explain. You can call that a coincidence of academic specialization. You can call it the natural result of disciplinary boundaries. You can call it whatever you want. But the result is the same as if someone had decided you should not be allowed to ask the question. The question is not why pyramids appear on every continent. The question is who benefits from a system in which that question is never raised. And what other connections, across other artifacts, on other continents, sit in the same institutional silence right now, waiting for someone outside the system to notice that the pieces were always meant to be read together.